Right, I'll open the meeting first of all with apologies, Mark. So do you want to confirm if anyone's given apologies?
Yep, Lucy or Jane, can you?
Yeah, we've had Eddie Hughes MP and Robert Judson.
Thank you, Jane.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay. So I think we all know each other, Mark. Are there any new faces that we need to do some introductions for, rather than just go around the table?
I don't know whether you've met Ray Flynn, because I know, Ray, you're now representing the university. So do you know everybody, or would it be helpful for introductions, Ray?
I haven't met the chair. Hi, I'm Ray Flynn. I'm the Associate Director for Place at the University for Wolverhampton.
Welcome, Ray. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well, I think everybody else knows each other's chair. I think you're correct on that.
So declarations of interest. Is there anything on the agenda that anyone would like to declare any interest on, other than the projects that we already know about? Okay. So, Mark, can I hand over who will be looking at Bloxbridge Town deal? I assume that will be Rupert, and then will it be yourself?
I'll just take you through a quick update and then ask Rupert if he wants to add anything from the advisory board at Bloxbridge. Is that okay, Rupert?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Yes, we can't see you, but we can hear you. I'll be very quick because I am conscious. Go on, Rupert.
Sorry, no, I'm going to turn my phone off.
Thank you. Right, I'll be very quick because I'm conscious of time, Chair. There's 5 projects within the Bloxbridge Town Deal programme, 2 of which the business cases are coming to the meeting today, which is the active travel and connectivity. There are 2 business cases that make up that programme, one for the canals, one from the transport. You've seen them at a previous meeting, so they'll just be for update and they're on the agenda for later. The same with the community capital programme. The promotion of construction skills through Regen is progressing well towards the business case being in front of you and agreed so that we can send it into government before the 4th of August. We're having conversations with the RSLs and also the college, which are going really well around their roles and their developing, and we're working on agreements for that. So that's really positive. Incubation Space and Digital Access Centre. We're looking for locations for the buildings that we can use within the town centre, Kirtledge. That's progressing well. There are some options coming forward. I'm not going to say any more about those. And that's progressing again to meet the August date. And the Green Bloxbridge programme, and I've said this before, Lynn Stuffins and the team are doing a wonderful job pulling that together for the parks involved. And also the designs are at Reba Stage 1 and they're moving towards Reba Stage 2, which is particularly for the 3 buildings that they're going to repurpose. So that's going well. And one thing I did want to say is a big thank you to Rupert and the people, that the members of the advisory boards, particularly Bloxbridge in this case. We've had 3 meetings over the last few months and they've really helped to shape and add some colour to some of the projects. So thank you for that, Rupert. I don't know whether, Rupert, if you want to add anything to that. I think he's having technical problems, Chair. That's my update on Bloxbridge, Chair.
Okay, should we just give it 1 minute just in case, Rupert? I'll just request he joins again just in case. If not, then we'll move on to Walsall and then we can ask Rupert for his words after maybe Carl.
I think it's over to Bright and Philippa now, I think, Chair, on the agenda.
Yeah, please.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Like Mark, be mindful of time. I'll try and be brief. The Town Centre Theatre project. Stakeholder meetings continue, clarifying the area requirements for the building. The outline business case is being developed and will be submitted in August. As we know, the project cost is likely to exceed the town deal allocation, so we're applying to the Levelling Up Fund Round 2 to secure the additional amount, and that's due to be submitted on the 6th of July. So this page is currently in concept design stage. It's aligning with our Connected Gateway project, and stage 3 of that will commence in mid-August. There's lots of synergies with the Connected Gateway project. That's the reworking of the station and the public space in Park Street. Again, that wonderful critical mass in the centre of the town, which we'll see some real sort of transformation and step change when these are coming to delivery. We've met with Network Rail and West Midland Trains, and the asset protection agreement has been approved by lawyers and is just ready for signing, a significant milestone. So yes, business case to be completed in August. The Creative Industries project, this is really all about acquiring the building at the moment. We know what the preferred option is, although we are really not getting anywhere near price with the owner. So we're having to look at other options. We've had to put design in abeyance until we can get this, until we can get a design, an agreement on cost and acquisition made. We will need some additional funding on this, and we're speaking, amongst others, to Benjamin Parker about Cultural Development Fund, and we're speaking to partners at the Black Country and the Combined Authority, who you'd expect to help support that. And again, business case completion is in August. Active public spaces. This is the sort of public realm, and the main focus of that is Gallery Square. Again, that central critical mass of transformation in the town centre. Landscape architects are developing the design to get us a good scheme. There's various scope changes just to make sure it's the best scheme we can get for the value for money. And again, outline business case will be submitted in August. Construction Skills Academy, the scheme, the initial proposal has been agreed by the college board. The design team are appointed and design is being developed. No objections received following planning application submission, so approval is anticipated in July, and the outline business case is now complete and submitted. The Electric Vehicle Sustainability Centre. Again, this is about land acquisition. A three-way agreement in principle is being sought. Walsall Council working with the college on this. Again, some great partnership working, and the design is scheduled to be completed to enable the planning application to be submitted early next year, and that's on programme. And a report will be prepared for the 7th of July to submit to Walsall College Board to agree principles around land transfer. Digital Skills Hub, a preferred site has been identified. Had a positive initial meeting. Heads of term is live until July this year. It's possible that we can extend that date. We've had initial feedback on the outline business case, and a revised version was submitted in May. Pre-application advice has been sought by the planning authority, and some limited design team work has been done. We were asked about young people's engagement. John King's here, who can probably speak to that. I don't know if you'd like to speak to that now or later on in the agenda, Chair.
If you think it would help the agenda, then I would say we can do it here.
Okay,
That's great. I'm happy to do that. So some people on the call will be aware already that we were successful in a bid to a central government fund called PropTech. This was primarily to encourage a digital engagement into the planning process, but our bid was really around supporting the regeneration projects, particularly the town deal ones that we had already had in the pipeline. Where we are now, we've gone through a selection process, a procurement selection process, and we've finalised 2 possible options, one of which we're going to be exploring in more detail on Friday. And this essentially enables us to have a platform that we can put all of that project individually up. They'll have a place on this platform that people can go, they can interrogate the ideas. If and when there is any kind of engagement taking place, they can participate in that. It'll be very mobile phone friendly, which is really the way all things are going at the moment. And that basically is a platform that we'll deploy alongside more traditional forms of engagement. So it's not exclusively what we will use, But the word from central government at the moment, and particularly with the amount of money they've thrown at it, is that there's something they very actively want local authorities to explore, and we will do that through this pilot.
Thanks, John. I think there's also, if I may share, there's some conversations with Walsall College, are there not, John, to speak to students to engage them in our projects?
Yes, okay. Thank you for the prompt, Philippa. Thank you for the prompt. At the launch of We Are Walsall 2040, I had a very constructive conversation with the college, and what we're looking to do as part of a sort of a carrot approach to get them to engage with the broader cohort of students is that we're looking from the next academic year to get some of our specialists, some of our partners and consultants and architects and whoever to have opportunities to talk to students and show them how projects are developed. So give them a real insight into place changing, which I think would be quite a valuable experience for them. And I know that there's an appetite to do that amongst some of the project partners, because I had this conversation with just last week. So that could be a really exciting inroad for us. And also what just going back to the PropTech fund, what government is looking for are a really clever original ideas of engagement with cohorts across a given geographical location. And clearly it's really important for us to engage with younger people, particularly around 2040, because 2040 they'll be adults and it's their Walsall. So the projects we're working on right now are changing the place in which they're growing up. And there is also very quickly an element of retention, making young people who train and study in Walsall feel that actually Walsall is a good place to stay and work and build their lives. So all of that is part of that broader story.
Thanks, John.
Thank you, Philippa. And thank you, John. I'm going to just bring in Carl at this point. Carl, have you got anything to add around the projects in Walsall? And if Rupert's back on, we can then bring Rupert in. I have got one hand up, but Carl, are you there?
I am, Chair. Thank you. Yeah, no, really, I suppose really just only to reiterate some of what Rupert said, really, in regards to the team support that's going on and the collaboration that's going on in terms of the projects and the business cases. I know that two of the projects, we know that there's a lot of complexity with it. There's a lot of stakeholders involved, and that's going to create a lot of lag and difficulty and challenge. But in terms of the work on the business cases that we have and where we are, I think, yeah, they've done a fabulous job. So I think we're, as an advisory board, we're collectively happy. I think there's a piece around the comms, which sounds as if it's coming through now, and the piece on the marketing and how we, channel this correctly and engage with the right audience across the whole spectrum, which is positive. So yeah, very positive in terms of where we are at the present.
Thank you. I'm just going to bring Doug in at this moment. Doug, you put your hand up. Doug, did you have a question?
Yeah, I did, if it's okay. In terms of this, all sounds really, really exciting. And one of the things that I think now is that we've got to make sure it's not the best ever kept secret, and that the comms really, really dials up, because people have done an incredible amount of work to get us to where we are. I was kind of trying to think differently last night about how we could get more people engaged. And, when you look at the age of everyone on the screen, we've got to make sure we drop a level as well and make it real. And so the suggestion, I always try and come with suggestions. And my suggestion would be, we've got a really nice link if we were to work with Walsall College and perhaps get somebody who is training within media and is a social media expert. And so what I was kind of thinking, and it's a bit, if you read the last chapter in 3 years' time, it would be wonderful to have, real endorsement, and it's all worked. And but how about getting somebody or sponsoring or getting somebody from Walsall College to become our social media person to help us build a platform? So like, they're bringing young people with us, because obviously third-party endorsement is far more credible than self-endorsement. But I just felt that we got a really nice piece where we could even go out and have a competition and say, become the face of Walsall Town Board, Bloxwich Town Board, and you could get a young person to go out and do videos and say, hey, we're outside a place in 2 or 3 years time, it's going to be a digital hub. We could have so much fun. So mine is definitely to say thank you to everybody on the call who's doing this work, but now let's try and connect with the world as well, and not how we connect, because if it was in my era, you'd have written an email and then photocopied, you know, a letter and photocopied it and posted it. But let's get people who can get the message. And there's this word that's really resonating everywhere, that for things to be believable, they've got to be real. And to have somebody, a young person who's part of the media team, albeit, you know, somebody in the, you know, on this call is controlling the content, but I think it will just make it so much fun. What's coming in, what's happening. So does that sound all right with everybody as an idea in principle?
So I'm getting a lot of nods, Doug, and I've got a couple of hands up. So I think Carl, was it? I think John, you put your hand up first. Do you want to come in, and then Carl, and then I'll open the floor up?
Sure, yeah, very quickly, Doug, that's a great idea. We've got a line of communication now with the college. We're talking to them particularly about enriching the courses for the engineering students, but that's not to say that we couldn't look at the communications as well. The other, very quickly, for everybody on the call here, this is something that's been developing over the last 2 or 3 months. Communications corporately at Walsall Council has changed dramatically. We now have a lead marketing officer, manager. We have social media experts. We've got video experts. We've gone from a 3-person team to something that actually means business now and has the capacity and the skill set to make this happen. And yes, absolutely, you know, the opportunity to work with students and collaborate with them on things like this would be great. And I think maybe at some point in the future we'd bring our new head of marketing along to this meeting to talk about that. But all the conversations are going on in the background with all the project leads, and yeah, we're lining everything up to make sure that we make the loudest possible noise around what we're going to be doing now.
Could I, to build on that, do you think I could help to be part of that? I'm happy to volunteer my time or whatever, but you know, I'm running a brand where, you know, we're trying to resonate with very young people. As part of it, I've learned an awful lot. So the first thing I've really learned is that it's important to have a young person, because they won't engage with people how we will. And so they'll do it in a way that resonates with young people. The second thing is, should we look at getting, so that would be the first arm. The second arm, should we have an influencer, somebody who has a big ticket and has a lot of followers in Walsall? But, you know, I would love to volunteer my time to help with the comms side, if nothing else, to be like a project sponsor, whatever you want to call me, but you've got me.
Doug, that's a great offer, and what I'd say is, I think what we need to look at is maybe getting a meeting fairly early doors with Jo Jackson. She's the new director of marketing at Walsall Council, and then we can bounce these ideas around, and then basically see how we can implement them, how they can make them happen. Yeah, great idea.
But can we speak off air and let's see if we can start to help you. Thank
Absolutely.
you. I'll put myself on silent. Thank you, Chair.
Cheers, Doug. Thank you. Carl, can I bring you in at this point, and then Tara?
Yeah, thank you. I was just going to follow on from what Doug's just said there. We did have at the last Walsall Advisory Board meeting, there was a conversation, and I think Julie raised the point about the connection and the conversations that are going on outside of the town deal, and that was around sort of promoting and bringing to the table some of the stuff that was going on, particularly around the marketing, but particularly around the engagement side of things in terms of, you know, drawing people in. So we did have an action from that meeting to do similar to what, you know, so it's not an overlap or duplication, but to look at joining up, looking at some of the aspects on how we can bring people together and how we can engage younger people. And just as an example, tomorrow I'm at Asgard's in Walsall, and they get 50 kids every night on a Thursday, which is to do with Tabletop Gaming Association. So for me, it's about exploring those avenues and understanding how we can connect with them and talk along their channels, because you're quite correct. You know, they're on Reddit, they're on Discord, they're on things that a lot of people on this call don't even know exist. So we need to tune into those channels appropriately. So I think that'd be really good.
Yeah.
Tara, can I bring you in?
Yeah, I just I want first of all give Mark an assurance that Doug and I didn't have a conversation last night about what he's just talked about, because Doug, I sent an email very much around the same guise of where you're coming from with regard to youth engagement with not your McDonald's app, but I've got no state secrets, but certainly about the youth engagement. But from my point of view, absolutely. And I wasn't as polite, Doug, I have to say, very respectful and politely. I think I used a phrase this morning's email. It's not the fuddy-duddies on this board that absolutely should be having these conversations. You know, we should be engaging with the 9-year-olds upwards. They're the future of these towns. They're the people that are going to make the decisions, decide whether they're going to stay, decide whether they're going to go, decide whether they're going to invest, and so therefore, you know, the Walsall College link is great, but I think we need to go younger. I think we need to get some inspiration into those 9-year-olds, you know, 8 and 9-year-olds. There needs to be a primary. I think there needs to be youth representation on this board, and I think that should be an action. We should have at least 3 people under the age of 25 at least on this board, and I'm not being disrespectful if there's anybody under 25 already on the board, but I'm taking a wild guess there that some of us are beyond that now, and we have some sort of, you know, youth council that we engage with going through this. So those business cases are scrutinised, are challenged, are brought into and influenced by those people who are going to be using these services and these products going forward, and actually not be apologetic for that to the rest of the demographic population out there. So when somebody says, oh, well, yeah, but have you got somebody from this demographic, that demographic, or wherever? I think we should be seen to be proactively targeting the youth of this town, to be making decisions and actually be celebrating that they had the opportunity to do that. And I'm sure through James's links and other links, primary schools, we will find young people who will absolutely tell us what they think. And in my experience, it's not sugar coated, and sometimes it's what we talked about, that reality check with regard to, you know, just because we think it's great doesn't mean that they think it's great. So no, absolutely in supportive of everything that's been said.
Thank you, Tara. Can I bring James in?
Just firstly, Tara, I am only 21, as you all know, so
I heard it was 21 plus VAT, James.
booking the trend there. But just I think just for some points of clarity on this one. So we have between us on the board got key links into some significant channels into young people, whether that's from community-based, college, university, or through the schools network through Kevin and his link. So that's a big tick. We've worked with John. My guys have worked with John over the last few weeks after the last meeting to really sort of put some structure around this and a framework about listening to that if you like, that young person's voice, which I think is a quite rightly from primary through to obviously the post 16 education piece. I think, and I know that this has come up a number of times. I think the key to this is that, yes, I think we're trying to put a formal framework around it. And I know that, John, I think it's really good what you're doing around putting in the platforms, etc. But I think there's almost an immediacy, because what young people won't thank you for is if they're done too, they'll go, well, actually, you haven't listened to us. What you've done is you've done what you always do, which is it's adults doing something that effectively is going to impact on our future. So I think I know that we've got a number of strands at the college that we're looking at around the Walsall 2040 focus group agenda, which is a really positive thing. But we are going to lose potentially some lines of communication to large groups of students over the summer period. It's going to be September, October again before we could potentially get some kind of healthy communication with them to corral them into a meaningful dialogue. So my ask and plea is, I know there's lots of really good conversations, but instead of trying, sometimes the formal solution is maybe the longer term one. I think we just need to have an earlier conversation, just expressing some of these projects to get some immediate feedback, because they'll just turn around and go, here we go again, you've done it to us.
James. Okay.
I'll come off my soapbox now.
John, can I bring you in? And then Doug.
Yeah, very, very quickly. James has just touched on it there. We are Walsall 2040. The plan for the borough, not for the council, for the borough for 2040 is rolling out now with considerable resources, and all of the cohorts that you've all been speaking about here will be reached out to through that. And for me, what's important is that to plan ahead, or to get people engaged in contributing to what the plan might be, they have to believe that change can come. And that's where I do believe that all the good work that's being done here is the evidence that change can happen. So that's the incentive to get people engaged in the whole process. So yes, all of these avenues are being explored. In terms of early engagement, that's something we all need to look at as well. But you know, this is all valuable stuff. Yes, all of these things have been considered. What I'd say is, from the council's perspective, we're in a position now that we hadn't been in for the longest time to have the resources to support it. So that's a positive.
So can I bring you in?
Yeah, I mean, I just wanted to sort of tell, I mean, I don't know if most of you know, but I run a fairly significant restaurant company. And one of the things that I've changed this year is that I have a board of advisors, but I've also, for the first time, and it was very badly received when we did it, I've brought in a young lady who sits in all our board meetings, and she's 22 years old. And what she does is she's almost become like reverse mentor to me. And basically she sits in all our meetings, and she is, we used to think we knew what we were doing. And in terms of engagement, about listening to people, but it's probably the best thing I've done this year. You know, thankfully it's not at the end of June yet, but hopefully I'll do something better. But she's been absolutely incredible. And what we've done to make sure it's working so well that she's an advisor to me as the CEO. But what we're doing is and I think this might work really well in Walsall, and I'll just try and expand upon it very quickly, Chair. We're getting a group of 8 people who are sitting, and we're calling them we're calling them a working group, and they're helping us move forward. So she chairs the working group and then brings our thoughts to the board meetings. So if you think about this, if we're to get somebody who believes in Walsall and helps spread the news to young people, imagine if the digital hub, imagine if they were part of it and they were able to film how it was being built and to tell how many people it was going to work. And then, you know, we could name the hub of somebody, you know, they could have a competition to name who the hub's going to be. This has got real longevity. And I think what it's got as well is advocacy as well, Chair. So I think we're all having this conversation. What we've got to do is we've got to be quick to market. And yes, we can't change the world, but we start to have conversations, because if young people have ownership, they will make sure that it comes to fruition. And that's the piece. They've got to feel part of us, not fragmented.
Thank you, Doug. So Tara, last question, and then we'll move on and close this part of the meeting.
Sorry, I was going to drop it in the chat because I knew time. Can I just ask, because I think we're all on the same wavelength here, but I think we just need to ask that $1 million question. You know, who is accountable in this whole project for inclusive consultation? Who, because we can have all these great ideas, and, you know, I think a drop of a hat, and, you know, forgive me, it's what I do. We could get 200 youngsters in a room and get them excited about this. We could do that with a fortnight's notice, 3 weeks notice, whether or not the schools or whatever. I said, thank you for that notice, whatever. But I'm sure there's enough influence. But who's the doer here, Mark? Who's the people that are going to make this happen? It's not just down to John. I appreciate from a comms point of view, or it might be, I don't know, from a accountability scope point of view. But who's accountable and who are we holding responsible for this?
I think we'd have to take that question away and have some conversations internally on that, and also talk to the partners about their roles in this as well. So I can't give you an answer today, but I'm sure Philippa and I and others will take that away and have a conversation around it.
Yeah,
Is that
I just
okay?
think
Is that-
unless this
is
is
that
owned,
okay, Philippa?
yeah, I think that unless this is owned, it's not going to go
Yeah, I
anywhere. And
agree,
somebody
I
needs to
agree.
own it.
Yeah,
If,
totally agree.
if I may, Chair, because Mark just sort of brought me in quickly. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, I've come from another authority where we had another town deal board, and things like marketing and comms would all be done in subgroups, so there was accountability through the governance. And I personally would, and I have done before, strongly advocate having a comms and marketing subgroup sponsored by a board member and then channel the work properly through the governance. And I think that's the best way to do it.
That's why I brought Philippa in.
Thank you.
Well, I think Doug might have volunteered to chair that today. First
think
meeting of
so.
tomorrow.
So great, thank you for that, guys. Date for next meeting we're saying is to be confirmed. So Mark, I don't know who's recording it, so if we can stop recording, we can then go into the private session.
Thank you, Chair. Lucy, can you